zap provided by Rita Thor was a little too much, you couldn't go wrong with a classic staple. A cool, refreshing glass of milk. Back in the 1800s, milk wasn't always so pure or safe.
Our milkman can bring us man's most perfect food, milk.
Everybody drank milk growing up at every meal. That's just what you did.
But in the 1800s, getting your hands on milk isn't so simple.
Milk was produced in rural areas, and when that milk was brought to the cities, one, it incurred travel costs, which made it more expensive, but it also sometimes would spoil.
So instead of milk, many Americans are drinking something else.
In the 1820s, the price of whiskey is cheaper than the price of beer, milk, tea. At its peak, alcohol consumption is literally 3 times what it is today. The average American was consuming about 2 bottles of whiskey a week.
Because of the incredible demand, whiskey makers have hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of byproduct that they don't really know what to do with.
To make whiskey, the distillers would take their wheat, their corn, or their rye, they'd boil it, and then they would ferment it. Anything left over is called swill. It's not completely devoid of nutrients, but you wouldn't call it nutritious.
Suddenly, some innovators have an idea that there's a real need for milk in American cities. How is milk made? By cows. What do cows eat? Grain.
So these city distilleries, they build stables and buy dairy cows, and they start feeding them with the leftover grain from their distilling process. This sounds really good and really progressive.
Except that dairy cows aren't as enthusiastic.
Those cows did not want that industrial waste, but they get so desperate that they start eating it, and they start producing a ton of milk.
But there's a problem. It's ghastly blue milk, and it's very runny. So they call this stuff swill milk. It looks very unappetizing.
How do you spell runny blue sludge? Well, you gotta make it look like real milk. You have to thicken it, and you have to turn it white. How they do this is what takes things to a whole other nasty level.
Innovating American entrepreneurs decide, well, we just need to make it look white. So they start adding substances to it, like flour and eggs, which isn't that bad, I guess. But then they start adding plaster.
Milk naturally has a layer of cream floating on top. So, how do they replicate that? Well, they grind up calf brains, yes, the brains of baby cows, and add it to the milk.
To preserve this swill, distillers add formaldehyde, which keeps it fresh, and also actually adds a weird bit of sweetness, just what babies like best.
Today, formaldehyde is found in a lot of things, from particle board to insulation to dishwashing liquid to insecticide.
These distillers sell this swill milk to local distributors who rebranded it as pure country milk.
By the late 1830s, swill milk makes up 50 to 80% of all the milk found in the large northeast cities.
This milk is sold in open containers on the street, which make it a breeding ground for all kinds of bacterial diseases like cholera, tuberculosis, and scarlet fever.
So, Frank Leslie, an investigative journalist, did this huge expose on what was actually going on. He was like the TMZ of the time.
This expose causes a public backlash that leads to the New York State Legislature issuing milk regulations.
So the history of milk wasn't so wholesome. But what about white bread? Up next, that comforting smell from the oven